welcome to the Bond Room Unlocked, whereby we take an item from this 27-year-old Bond collection and relate it to one of the films that we know and love. 40 years ago, Bond dressed as a clown and as a gorilla. He told a tiger to sit, and he was subjected to a little Octopussy. Yes, Octopussy is Roger Moore's 6th outing as Bond, and what a madcap adventure it is. The question today is, should Octopussy receive more love from the Bond community? And with the help of fan Pietro Rossi, we are going to determine just that. Now, I'll be honest, initially I wasn't the biggest fan of this 1983 film. Far too much silliness and not enough spy for me. But as time has gone on, I have learned to appreciate the more general qualities of the film. There are bits I like and there are bits I loathe. Now, one fan who absolutely loves this film is Pietro. So let's hear from him now.
Thank you, Vicky, for asking me to defend Octopussy. And I guess the question is, why do I like Octopussy so much? Although I find that The Spy Who Loved Me is Roger Moore's best performance as James Bond, I find this film to be his best film.
Oh, I just want to stop Pietro there. It's interesting that he says that this is Roger's best performance, where many would argue that it's the 1981 film For Your Eyes Only, a more serious and dramatic tone. But personally, my favourite and best of Roger Moore's is The Spy Who Loved Me from 1977. But hey, it's all subjective.
It starts off with a brilliant pre-credit sequence with the Acro jet, before we then move into a From Russia with Love style story via a Fabergé egg. Octopussy herself is a challenge to perception. Having the movie named after her and the Private Army, I was expecting her to be like Goldfinger type character, but that isn't the case. She's an immoral character, with the villains being Kamal Khan and General Orlov. Octopussy herself is a cool character and one of the better Bond ladies. Maud Adam totally suits the movie and this particular Bond.
Regarding the character of Octopussy, played by Maud Adams, in her second Bond role, I agree with Pietro here. She isn't a villain, but she isn't whiter than white either. She sort of simmers underneath the devious nature of Kamal Khan and the downright brashness of General Orlov, played defiantly by Steven Berkoff, one of the best aspects of this film for me.
The West is decadent and divided. It has no stomach to risk our atomic reprisals. Throughout Europe, daily demonstrations demand unilateral nuclear disarmament.
I see no reason to risk war to satisfy your personal paranoia and thirst for conquest. We must turn our energies to pressing domestic problems.
General Gogol, let me remind
Comrades,
you...
sit down.
I wish to tell
Both of
you...
you.
Like From Russia with Love, the Russian hierarchy aren't the bad guys. Rather, it's a third party that is controlling events. Albeit here, it's a rogue element from within the hierarchy, the excellent Orlov. And the location really works. Unlike today's scattergun approach to locations, here we feel that we get the chance to embed ourselves in the culture of India, and we get to feel as though we are actually in a proper location.
Ah, Q. How are you? Most unhappy 007, thanks to you. How can I be expected to maintain the quality of my work? Sent out here at a moment's notice, no proper facilities.
So, what is my favourite scene in Octopussy? It is Bond disarming a bomb at the army base when he's disguised as a clown. The beauty of this scene is Roger Moore's acting. He was always self-deprecating about his acting ability, and yet this scene shows how good an actor he genuinely was. It is through Bond's eyes that we see his conviction, his ability to take command of a situation. It is easy for Bond to take control whilst wearing a suit, a representative of HM government. It is not so easy for him to do so in a clown's outfit. The scene starts with the general thinking the clown is making a joke about there being a bomb in the circus tent, and why should he not? Yet he then believes the bomb is genuine.
As I've mentioned before in a previous video on this film, I've never really liked the clown stroke bomb scene, but in more recent viewings I have grown to appreciate the juxtaposition between the seriousness of the nature of what's going on, juxtaposed with the kooky clown outfit that Bond is wearing, and I now have a new appreciation for this scene. It's detrimental to the whole proceedings of the film, and it shows that how things can change with Bond after viewing. Things grow on you as time goes by.
So, do I think that people hate it unfairly? Well, obviously my answer is going to be yes. There are elements in this movie that are of its time. I saw the film on the big screen in 1983 when it was released, and the audience went along with the Tarzan yell, Barbara Woodhouse sit, and VJ's tennis jokes references, as well as the general juvenile humour. I watched it again on the big screen as part of the Bond 60th anniversary celebration, and there I detected there was a generational gap towards these scenes. I also know from social media that people are against that whole scene with Bond disguised as a clown. But I would ask people to leave aside their preconceptions and give Octopussy another watch. This film oozes style, wit and action, and is definitely Roger Moore's best Bond film for me.
Pietro has hit the nail on the head with a number of things that I detest about this film. The jungle scene is one of them. It is more like Carry On Jungle than a Bond film. But there is another scene that I find equally cringeworthy, and that's a scene where Q is flying a hot air balloon. It totally detracts from the big end brawl for me. I love to see Q in the field, but this one is a step too far.
What are you doing? Yeah. Oh, cut it out. We haven't time for that. Later, perhaps.
I want to share with you two smaller items in my collection connected to the film Octopussy. Both badges, although one has been slightly adapted. The first one is this Octopussy 007 Secret Agent badge, which features the part of the poster from the film with Maud Adams in her Octopussy pose there. And there's that badge. And then we've got this second one, which has actually been adapted into a key ring. And this one is featuring Roger with an Octopussy, its tentacles wrapped around him, which could be seen as a sort of a theme that's within the film, that Octopussy he's become entangled within this Octopussy plot. These are nice little items. I do like to try and get a few smaller items in my collection, and these are of course fairly old, from 1983, so I'm glad to have them. If you've enjoyed this episode, then give it an MI6 stamp of approval and click on the notifications below. And why not subscribe to the channel, because you don't want to miss out on any further missions. You can also find the Bond Room Unlocked on Instagram and on Facebook too. So whatever you think of Octopussy, I hope that our special guest Pietro have given you some food for thought. And next time you give it a watch, just have a think about how you really feel about it. Thanks for joining me and Pietro at the Bond Room Unlocked.